Call to order. Thank you. That was my next question. So we'll start with roll call. Kelsey? Here. Meryl? Christine?
Here.
Richard?
Here.
And then we'll do flag salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Hey, I will be looking for agenda consideration at this time. Need a motion and a second on the agenda.
Move to accept the agenda as presented.
A second. Any discussion? We'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Christine and Richard, were you an aye?
Yes.
Yes.
Any public comments?
I've not received.
No. Okay. All right, board communication. We had a board retreat on September 30th. The agenda is attached. We covered a lot of basics. We had a really, actually a really productive time, I think. Did anybody want to give their opinion on it? Meryl, we'll start with you.
Let's start with me, and I was only there for part of it, but it was beneficial. I just regret I didn't pay closer attention to your personal vignettes of your family and so on. I'll catch up later as best I can.
Excellent. Kelsey?
I really enjoyed it. I liked the more intimate setting with everyone and getting to know everyone a little bit better, and then just kind of talking through the different things that we did. That was
Excellent.
good.
Richard?
I'll just echo what everybody else said. It was good to spend time with the board and with Bill, and I appreciate Bill, making time to kind of refresh us all again on, the direction that we're headed in with the strategic plan and the goals that we're focused on. I know we're going to talk more about that this evening. So thank you.
Thanks. Christine, did you have any input? You weren't there, but we did miss you. And then I would also like to acknowledge that it's Hispanic Heritage Month, and that's being celebrated at North Marion. And the link is there. And that runs through till October 15th. And then we have our high school ASB representatives. Do you want to wait just a minute?
Yeah, I'm gonna wait, probably be like 5 minutes located alive.
Okay, no problem. We're busting through this, so. Anybody from UNME?
They provided a PowerPoint, and I think maybe they might be running late too.
Okay. OSB annual convention registration. This is a reminder that the registration ends October 19th. It's in Portland. I did find out at the regional meeting that the superintendent of the year will be speaking there too. And he actually went to North Marion, and he's the superintendent at Cascade. So if you have any questions, touch base with Diane.
Had one comment.
Yep.
I don't know if it's worthy of the board to consider and perhaps convey to OSBA, but I noticed in checking their agenda, it's a little difficult to make a decision because it's just workshops. And I like to know what I'm in for, and especially for $595, I'd like to know what I'm in for. The pre-conference workshop was more indicative of what it would be at board training. It sounds like it might be. I just raised that question if the juice is worth the squeeze.
Okay, so, I can follow up and send an email, so you would like, more details on the workshop?
And if I could, you know, there are hundreds of workshops that you have to choose from at, at the conference. And so they'll eventually get organized into strands and some of those types of things, so there's different ways to attend. It's, sometimes it really is just sort of this sounds like something I really want to go to, and you get into that workshop and you kind of go, this isn't what exactly what I thought, so it's one of those kinds of events. But I think because you may have a strand or an area that you're interested in, it's kind of easy to kind of follow through sessions that support it,
The other thing that I noticed, and this probably seems overly critical of OSBA, they do not allow substitutes, so if one of us sign up to go and then can't make it, and you want to send someone else, no, you can't do that, and I think, well, are you here to help us or not? You might have some insight on that, as well as cancellation fee, unless you, which isn't overly exorbitant, but still, it's a factor.
Yes, can be. So we will move on to, acknowledge extended overnight field trip for outdoor school. Yay, October 18th through the 20th. No, I'm very excited about that. And the 25th through the 27th. Do you need any action or just acknowledgement? It's fine.
Acknowledgement.
Okay. And then, F on the agenda, ODE state education update and OSBA updates. The information is in there. I will say at the regional meeting, they talked about, the Oregon Board of Ethics has put a pause on any stipend talk from, the first session this year. And so, and there's some corrections that need to be made to some of the bills, including, I think there was another bill that they needed to have some correction on. I don't remember which one it was though, but there's a couple of things where you're out of alignment and they all need some correction. So we will move on to the consent agenda, knowing that we have to go back and make room for our ESB. So has everybody had a chance to look over the consent agenda? And I'm looking for a motion in a second.
I've never motioned before, so would I say I motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
Yep.
Okay.
And do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Discussion.
Oh, sorry, discussion. Thanks, Meryl. I knew you'd keep me honest. Any discussion?
I just have one question as to whether the superintendent recommends the acceptance.
Absolutely, I mean, and know that the superintendent is involved in submitting those, submitting the agenda.
So that's kind of a given,
Yeah,
and it's presented.
yeah,
I don't know what.
especially on a consent agenda. They
We
usually
know
won't be
that you're
discussed.
recommending.
Okay,
Are we still trying to build a metals position? And that's,
any other questions, Christine or Richard?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I
All those opposed? All right, we will bounce back to the UNME if they're ready.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Just in time. Hello again. Okay, centered. I'm Jana Giles, the president. Thank you for letting us be on the agenda again. So, just wanted to communicate some updates about how the union's going and how your licensed staff are doing. So there's a lot of things going well this year. Communication is transparent and clear, especially with the district. We're really enjoying working with Bill and Des, so it's been wonderful having both of you. PS is fully staffed. So got that notification at the site council, which is awesome. Hope that's not incorrect now, but it's been active, so should be good. Yeah, you never know. The fun run was really well, worked really well at the elementary level. It was fun. It was great to see all the parents out there helping check off kids' laps and just see everybody's excitement. And then Spark, our PE teacher, Spark is our structured recess to get those extra PE minutes. I don't remember what it stands for because I should have written that down, but I forgot. But it's been going really well at the intermediate school for the most part. And we're just really grateful to have such an awesome PE teacher who's been having to work double his actual allotted time. So he's been working his tail off to get that for us. So we really appreciate him. And then the high school was had a request about some fire escape maps and got feedback super quick. Within a week, we got everything settled and figured out, which felt really nice to actually have something taken care of in a reasonable amount of time. And it took one notification, not a bunch of reminders. And then same at the high school, the new bathroom and hall pass. And then the referral forms, which I know our vice principals have been working on district-wide. The referral forms are a huge success for teachers. They're able to submit referrals and get them logged, and it's a lot of clicking and not a lot of typing. So it's just been a quick, efficient way to keep track of behaviors and data. And then also tardies at the high school have been getting a lot better. So we're on the right track with all of that. And then obviously areas that needs more support is staffing with subs as usual. And then the sped department is in need of some staffing support. We are having a lot more behaviors. And so we really just want to support those kids that need more adults in their life. And then while Spark is going well, the extra PE minutes are taking a lot of our PE teachers' time to plan for. And we have one PE teacher who's now kind of having to do two jobs because he's planning for his classes and then he's also planning all these extra PE minutes. And so we just want to bring that to your attention that yes, this was it was a mandated, state mandated law that was not funded. But we want to kind of think of more creative ways than just being okay, PE teacher, you have to plan all of this in your time that you have in a normal day because it's double the amount of work he's very used to doing because it's more than one person. Those are some. Do you have any questions about those?
I don't think so. Richard, Christine, any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
And then I think there's just a few more slides, if I recall. Yes, keep an eye out for community events. They will be coming. They are coming. We're in the process of planning it. It's only October. So I have to remind myself it's only October. And then again, I always like to share our mission and vision and values with you so you can see what we stand for and then also our contact information.
Great. Thank you so much. Great. ASB.
Thank you.
You have to run over here.
It's always fun to practice. Hello, everyone. Good evening. We're here to provide our ASB club report for all the clubs at the high school. So to actually start out with ASB, we have been very busy lately. We successfully pulled off our suicide prevention week at the end of September. And we recently, last week, have had all of our homecoming activities. Recently, we sold bracelets, stickers, and lemonade to raise money and awareness. And that was a success. That was for our suicide prevention week. And as for our homecoming week activities, our staff took home the win for group volleyball and Powder Puff ended in a tie. Our homecoming assembly was a success and our queen reveal went great. Anna E. Medina was crowned as our queen and Melanie Kirstein as our crown princess. That was at halftime during the football game. And with a great homecoming dance to finish it all off, we're now preparing for Pink Out this week. On tomorrow is a boys soccer game, Pink Out, and then this Thursday is girls soccer, volleyball and football. We will be selling some fun stuff and raising awareness for the cause and shouting out people.
Yeah, it should be really fun. Our Key Club has been very busy. They had their very first meeting last month. And they worked the volleyball concession stands, held a food and clothing drive, made cards for seniors, and did a school cleanup after school. So they packed a lot into 1 month. This month they plan to sell candygrams to raise funds for the district convention and to help at the primary school carnival, and do another after-school cleanup and distribute the clothes, foods, and cards they made last month. But it should be really fun.
For FBLA, our Future Business Leaders of America, they recently had Bill Grob as a guest speaker last month. They're starting Big Brother, Big Sister on October 20th this month, so that's very exciting. They'll be working with the primary school second graders for that. And they're planning on attending a 2-day conference in Salem on October 25th and 26th.
FFA went to the Grass and Seed Research Center to test soil last Thursday, and they also held a chicken bingo at the homecoming game to fundraise. And that was very entertaining for everybody. They're having a meeting tonight with the pumpkin carving contest to kind of just break the ice and have some fun.
For Metra, they're volunteering at Milburn's this month to raise money for the club, as well as maybe selling pumpkins on Halloween.
So far, NHS, we're working on promoting the October blood drive, which is one of 2 of our annual ones, and we've met already to discuss roles and our responsibilities for it. We'll host the Red Cross on October 17th for it and help with the vision screenings over at the other schools on October 20th as well. And we'll also be helping with the middle school tapping ceremony on October 24th. If any of you guys are interested in donating blood for our blood drives, you should please reach out to Ms. McClintock for it on October 17th. It'd be great.
Or anyone else you know that
Yes.
wants to donate blood,
We're still for donors.
we're still trying to reach our goal of donors, and the last day to sign up is tomorrow. For Skills USA, they held an officer meeting on September 29th, and is planning a meeting for anyone interested in Skills USA still on the 9th of October. That was actually today. They are doing volleyball concessions on the 19th of October.
Robotics now has 2 teams at the high school, and they already have 2 robots built and named. Scrimmages are underway as they prepare for their first tournament on October 28th, and the 1 middle school team has learned how to build and program their first Clawbot and has got to scrimmages a few times. They're now planning changes to specifically address this year's new challenges.
For NAHS, that's a National Art Honor Society. They have been on a quest for images of North Main alumni in their career, for example, marine biologists, research lab technicians, hair and nails, moms. We are still open for submissions if anyone knows anyone or would like to submit themselves. They can send it to Sarah Bailey using her school email.
For yearbook this year, Awesome has helped out with the suicide awareness and hosted a sidewalk chalk time in the courtyard, which is very pretty and very cool. And it was great to see the students take a break from the day-to-day activities and be free to create. So they decorated the courtyard all in chalk, and it was really pretty. I liked it.
For Awesome, that's Operation Student Safety on the Move, I believe. Oh, I haven't messed up. Wait. Okay, wait, that was for, oh, sorry, yeah, I messed up. Okay, never mind. This is actually
Oh,
for
we flip-flopped.
yearbooks. We flip-flopped.
Oopsie.
That's okay.
Okay, so this is actually for a yearbook. So you're probably seeing the yearbook photographers all over at our school events, honing their skills. The theme for yearbook this year is the big picture and what part each of us all play in it. When you think homecoming, you probably think of the athletes on the field as well as supporting those on the sidelines, like the parents, the students buying concessions, cheerleaders, the band, alumni, incoming students, maintenance, staff doubling as ticket takers, the junior class in FFA fundraising, etc. Yearbook is thinking about all of them and what part they play and are trying to capture it all.
So awesome was one of the courtyard decorating. I loved it. And then finally for drama, Mr. Haddon is the new club advisor, but they're still on the search for a director. And they have their first 2 official practices after school on Fridays and are planning on doing an improv show later this year. Pretty cool.
Do any of you have any questions or comments? A lot's going on.
Thank you so much, and you guys did such a good job at
Thank
homecoming.
you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Okay, we will skip back down to item number 4, business and budget. Linda, did you have anything that you wanted to say? No, you're good? Okay. It's noted here in the agenda that the report out will be in November. So then we have board action. The first part is A for Jewel class action settlement. This is something that we've been working on prior to maybe some of the new board members were on the board. So this is just really, we're looking for a motion. Second on down here, the authorizing the superintendent to resolve the district's lawsuit with Altria Group and affiliated released parties. So this will give Dr. Rhodes permission to work with our legal to be able to have everything completed and finalize the settlement. And this was kind of like a class action settlement, so it's already predetermined.
Question?
Yep, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I was wondering, Bill, if you could just sort of give, maybe for the benefit of everybody here, a brief update on kind of the status of the process. I think the last time we heard about this, we were hearing from the attorney that was going to be negotiating the settlement on behalf of the school districts, but I don't think we've heard anything since then.
So, in my memo, I did note that our attorney suggested that if the board wanted further discussion and more information on that we do that in an executive session, given the nature of the suit. I'm assuming there are some confidentialities and those types of things that would have to be accounted for in a question and answer period that I'm not prepared to understand. So that's why the recommendation came in the memo that if the board wished further discussion, to do it in an executive session.
Yeah, so I guess just to be clear, this is an authorization to settle with Altera Group, where we had previously provided authorization to settle with Jewel. Is that correct?
Right, that part's settled, and this is all in the Altera Group, and that actually then ends it.
So I'll go around the room and then you guys can make a decision on if you want an executive or if you want to.
And again, this was a class action. It was really kind of that suit around the marketing, of Jewel, and that it was aimed at young people. It was the marketing was aimed at youth that were not old enough to be using the products.
Meryl, did you have any questions?
I don't think so. It was initiated before my time, but it sounds like it's appropriate that we would approve it.
Kelsey?
I would agree with Meryl.
And Christine?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything more. Thank you.
Richard, did you have anything more?
No, answer my questions. Thanks.
Did the board want to take action on this?
I'll move that we authorize superintendent to resolve the lawsuit as presented here.
Is that good for you? Diane? Perfect.
Plus second.
We got a motion and a second, so I will start with Kelsey. Aye. Yeah. Aye or nay, either way. Aye. Okay, or Meryl?
No coach.
Votes aye.
I know, I corrected myself. Huh?
Aye.
Thank you. Christine?
Hi.
Richard?
Aye.
And I am an aye. So motion passes.
thank you for that, and I think staff, I know there were a lot of staff that were asked to collect a lot of data over the course of the past year. There was a lot of work that went into it, so we're kind of happy to get it resolved and be done.
Okay, part B, we have, 3 OSB policies here. Did you want to speak on behalf
Yeah.
of that?
So, there were, out of the, OSBA recommended updates, there were 3 that we thought would be appropriate to have on this agenda. And, one of them is an update based on some changes in legislation around our, policy on board meetings. One then is the policy we have on executive sessions, that's related, of course. And then the third is, related to our wellness policy. In the packet, we provided for you, because, based on some conversations earlier about the board, what types of things they might want to see. We provided in essence, a resolved, recommendation from staff, in terms of what we would recommend in terms of, adopting, this policy based on going through the markup copy, which you also had, a copy of, and actually, making our recommendations about bracketed items and such. Remembering that a bracketed item means there's some decisions to make around it. And then we also included a copy of our current policy. You could make those comparisons about what the choices were that we had to make, and then what staff was recommending and where we are currently. The meetings laws, policies needed to be updated because there was some additional clout given to the Ethics Commission around public meetings and public meeting law. So apparently there's been a lot of complaints about inappropriate public meetings, not to us, but across the state. And so they're trying to tighten up that a little bit. So one of the things that you notice in the board meeting policy is, one of the changes is that will be starting in January, a mandatory board training that will have to take place around public meetings law. So the primary change in the board meeting law is kind of that additional language about board members needing to have the training. The executive session, the primary change in the executive session policy was the addition of one more reason that you could have an executive session. And it states now we can hold an executive session to talk about certain aspects of safety, cyber security, and those types of things, safety plans and things like that. That if you made them public, it wouldn't be as safe anymore if everyone kind of knew what we were doing. So there is the notion that you can have an executive session to keep confidential, some of the methods that are in place in a district. That have to do with safety that you would want law enforcement and others to be aware of, but you wouldn't want the general public to be aware of. The wellness policy, we just readopted last May, and it was updated then in this legislative session. They did reduce the PE requirements for grades 6 through 8 from 225 to 150. So the only thing we're recommending, as a change or an update in that wellness policy is to change our language from required 225 minutes to 150 minutes in grades 6 through 8.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go around the table and see if anybody has any questions. All right. So Meryl?
I do notice on my screen, those policies are not blue and I'm not able to access them, but I did look over the wellness policy, and I wondered did OSBA make the change, or did we just do that in-house, make that one adjustment?
Legislators made the change, and they recommended that if you had language that said 225, you should change it to 150. Yeah.
I would hope after looking at those ages, there would be some way to condense that, but I'm not prepared to make suggestions.
Yeah, there are a lot of aspects to the district wellness
It just
policy.
seemed like there's some ambiguities and more language than there is current policy there, but I have to admit, I didn't study it thoroughly. I had the wrong.
Kelsey, did you have any questions?
See, those, they show up blue on this screen, not on mine.
There and then there.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
I didn't.
Okay. Richard?
I just had one question. I think it was item 12 on the executive session policy. There was an option to choose review or discuss, I think for purposes of, examination of confidential records. I'm just trying to understand why we selected review over discuss, or kind of what those differences, the difference between review and discuss might be in your mind, Bill.
Yeah, I think it's language to try to protect from over deliberating toward the decision during the executive session. And I'm just speculating on that, because, there's kind of deliberations towards action, are not really an executive session function in that regard, in that area. So I think that, legal advisors at OSBA are just thinking that review is safer language and encouraging more deliberation.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Thank you.
Christine?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, does anybody want to make a motion on item B?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve on first reading the OSBA policy updates as presented.
Okay, did you want that first reading and adoption or just first reading?
I'm comfortable moving for first approval for on first reading and adoption.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. We'll vote by roll call. Kelsey?
Aye.
Meryl?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Motion carries. And then for item C, we have accept the school board member resignation. Christine Carvajal has put in a letter of resignation effective October 31st, 2023. So we are looking for a motion and a second that will accept her letter of resignation as of that date. And this will allow Diane to start the process for a replacement. Vacancy will be filled through board appointment.
I move that we accept Christine Carvajal's letter of resignation as of October 31st, 2023.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? I will say, Christine, it's been fabulous having you. I hope that you enjoy the property that you have the opportunity to buy. We'll miss you, but I'm sure I'll phone you still.
I appreciate it, thank you. My resignation is just due to moving outside of the district. It's nothing more. I just want anybody who's listening to understand that's all it is.
Yeah, sometimes you have to take those opportunities that come up.
Yeah, we were looking forward to it, Christine, so very, very best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the second part of that is to declare a vacancy on the board, so we'll need a motion and a second to declare position 6 vacant. As of, do you need as of October 31st? Okay,
But I don't think it's needed.
okay, so we just need to, I'm looking for a motion that says we have a position vacant. To declare it.
I'll move that we declare North Marion School Board position 6 vacant per district policy.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Okay, motion carries. Are we all good, Diane? You did everything you needed? Okay. So we will turn it over to Dr. Rhodes for superintendent operations reports.
Thank you. And Linda, are you driving? Can you drive my slides?
I am driving. Yeah. Do you want me to speak also, or are you saying
Oh,
something?
this is my superintendent report.
Oh, wrong one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know, I think I just accidentally closed it. Let me find it. I thought we were on the enrollment.
We're being optimistic about how quickly we were going.
You said you wanted this to go fast.
I won't take it personal with me.
Is it your PowerPoint you want, Bill?
Yeah.
I got it. Can you see that?
Yes, and can we go to the first slide? All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Only 47 slides, you know. Should go very quickly.
Bill, you can kill our time.
Again, just always looking for examples of the mission and the notion of learning together. And so it's Merle and Crystal learning together last Thursday night with other colleagues from the ESD and OSBA's legislative roadshow. So thanks for representing the board and the district at that meeting and for, you know, continuing to learn and grow as board members by doing so. So thanks for being there. And the lasagna wasn't bad that night.
I was going to say, all you can see of Bill is the plates.
Yeah, I noticed he didn't like selfie in there.
Okay, Linda. Just lots and lots of purpose and possibility over the course of the past week or so. I've just kind of really appreciated the spirit during our Spirits Week and those opportunities to get out there and engage and having some fun amidst all the really, really hard work that students and staff are engaging in. And, you know, again, another important part of that mission. I was kind of noting though, that, you know, those traditions have great purpose as well. And there are so many things that, you know, kids and staff and others are looking forward to, you know, that are those traditions that make us North Marion and the new traditions that we're creating as we move along. But there's great purpose in that and in kind of the security and safety and knowing that, you know, we're in our community and representing our community. So again, thanks for all that. Go ahead, Linda. The notion, lots also examples of, you know, our vision, you know, of members of our community being engaged and supporting our kids, you know, from wherever they might be. And our kids talked about some of the other partnerships and some of the other community efforts we've had to support kids. And you can't go anywhere without seeing members of our community engaged in supporting kids. So just really great examples. Especially while the weather's so nice and we're able to get out and see it all, of the vision in action. And again, just some great spirit, you know, over the course of the week. I was kind of sharing with staff, the fun runs were awesome. But I was kind of sharing, you can really, you get the notion of what a little encouragement does, because when they're 5-year-olds and, you know what I mean, and they're walking and they're looking pretty tired and about to drop, and you just kind of say, hey, way to go, and perk up and, you know, you know, for the next 20 feet, you know, until that next piece of encouragement. It's kind of what we do at school, you know, is to and continue to encourage and support kids, and, regardless of what they're doing. So some of those scenes of spirit that we've seen over the course of the week. Go ahead, Linda. And really what I wanted to share today was a little bit of the notion of organization, what I might call, we might call organization for learning, or, you know, that question of, okay, so we got a strategic plan, so what, you know, how are you going to implement it? And I just chose to share a little bit about goal 1 that really asks us to implement aligned pre-K-12 curriculum standards, instruction and materials that are rigorous, relevant, and culturally responsive. And that core planning team was really adamant that, doggone, we're small enough, we ought to be able to be coordinated, connected, aligned. You know, we ought to have, be able to have great conversations, not just from grade level to grade level, but from building to building in terms of how we're doing our work and improving teaching and learning. So, in essence, and hopefully you've seen some of this, but trying to connect some of the dots, as you recall, you know, again, we brought that strategic plan to our leadership team in the summer, and those leaders from each building and from the district thought carefully and, you know, and hard about what the strategic plan was about. And based on the data that they looked at and what they knew about their buildings, what it might look like to move forward with their own building's theory of action about how to support the goals in the strategic plan. So that occurred in the summer. Based on that work, go ahead, Linda. You know, we created, again, this district sense of, you know, how do we share that? How do we share our vision? You know, how do we continue to make it everyone's vision and make everyone a part of what that looks like and feels like to be engaged in implementing and contributing to a mission, you know, and the goals in the strategic plan. So some of you were there, you know, as we were thinking about that together and planting those seeds. And then additionally, you know, buildings are organized with their leadership teams. So our building leaders are working with, you know, their coaches and their instructional leadership teams early on in the year to again, carry out some of the same types of activities and thinking, you know, so principals say, hey, instructional leaders, here's our best thinking or draft thinking about a theory of action for our building, you know, what do you think? And how, you know, can we refine this and revise this and to really reflect how we'd like to move forward in our buildings. So our instructional leadership teams meet regularly to continue to do that. And you see some examples of our instructional leaders and coaches then working with the staffs in individual buildings and starting to move those plans of action forward within buildings. Additionally, you've seen some examples of then our grade level teams, department teams, you know, who also kind of work together on their visions, you know, of how to support that goals in the building, you know, as a grade level, you know, what's it looking like at second grade, third grade, fourth grade, you know, and if these are our school-wide goals, how to continue to move together, you know, and articulate those efforts as we're doing that work together. Some of you have seen, as you saw in the retreat, that there were, you know, we have some common instructional frameworks and guiding frameworks that we use. And those are the same frameworks that are guiding each of these teams as we do our work together. as well as some of the specific aspects of, you know, English language arts and mathematics and science, that even more specifically guide that work. As administrators, we meet monthly as an administrative operational team. Our teaching and learning team, the principals and directors involved in leading the teaching and learning efforts in the district, meets monthly, again, to continue to coordinate and refine, reflect. Secondary principals meet together once a month. Elementary principals will meet together once a month. Principals and directors get one-on-ones with me and with Desiree. A lot of attention, whether they want it or and then, you know, we talked about the learning sessions, you know, that we do, you know, even beyond that, you know, where we're really thinking about the types of things that we would expect to see if we walked around a school, you know, and classrooms together. And again, looking for that, looking for evidence of the great work that's going on, the great instruction that our teachers are involved in delivering. And then there are the PLCs that occur. A lot of those are some of those teams, like a grade level team or a department team, that on Wednesday afternoons, there's these other opportunities for regular and a systematic collaboration around teaching and learning in our buildings. And then, you know, also we have some, you know, sometimes we call them disappearing task forces, but we have, you know, we have ad hoc committees and task forces that are designed to collaborate and lead and advise on specific types of activities. So you might have a committee to accomplish a particular task or take on a particular problem. We have safety committees and the science, you know, this afternoon, the science adoption committee began their work together, and you had the math and English language arts. So, you know, those are organized through those methods as well. So anyway, just wanted to take a moment, you know, to share a little bit, you know, about, you know, if it seems chaotic, it's organized chaos, you know, in terms of how we, you know, how we're leading that work together. And it's not chaotic, but it's constructivist. You know, we have to keep making sense of what we're doing, and we have to keep looking at what's happening and make adjustments along the way. And the only way we can do that is through these regular collaborations that we're organized to move things forward with. So just wanted to share that. Again, you know, hopefully what you can see is that there are a lot of folks working really hard on behalf of kids in North Carolina.
Thank you. So I'm gonna go around and just have them ask questions if they have any. I know it's kind of different than
That's
mine.
fine, yeah. Mhm.
So Meryl,
What is the PLC?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's a great question. It stands for Professional Learning Community. And so we kind of define professional learning community work as, you know, teams together. And they could be working on what we want kids to know well, you know, the standard. They could be working on what powerful instructional strategies do we want to bring to deliver that. They could be working on the question of, you know, how do we know when they know? How do we know? So what is our assessment system? How are we going to make sure that they're getting it? And or what are we going to do if we see that they already learned it, or what are we going to do if we see that they didn't learn it that time? You know, what are our next steps? So those are in essence, the questions that professional learning communities work on together.
That's a more generic term. It's not one group that's always the professional learning community here. It's applied to different groups of educators.
We kind of, you know, buildings organize, each building organizes their professional learning community teams. It might be grade level at an elementary school, it might be a department content area at a high school. There are some teams, one of the teams that was in the photo was a group of specialists. You know, none of them teach the same thing, but they coordinate as specialists together. So that they, you know, because they have some shared experiences, is that they may be the only person in their building who are, you know, working on a particular thing. But it is a term that begs definition, and that's why we've defined it, the work of a professional learning community, as working on one of those 4 things.
Good. Kelsey?
That was a good question. Sorry about the acronym.
What does ad hoc stand for, or what does that mean?
Yeah, it just means it's not one of these ones that we regularly have systematically built in, but we have a particular problem or project. And so we have a committee, we put a committee together to explore that and make a recommendation for it. And, you know, generally then once that is done, that committee doesn't exist anymore as we start to move that in. You know, you might have, sometimes you can have a steering committee that, like in science, that stays intact, you know what I mean, for a number of years, but you might have just the science adoption committee, who in essence is ultimately making or reviewing and ultimately making a recommendation about materials to adopt. And once that's done, that may not exist anymore. Yeah, good question.
Richard, do you have any questions?
No questions, but maybe just a comment. Bill, I appreciate you mentioning, you know, that we're always sort of taking a look at where we are and making, you know, making adjustments along the way. And, you know, I often use this sort of technical analogy of an autopilot, you know, on a jet. And, you know, an autopilot is sort of this feedback loop that, you know, it's never, you know, the jet's never exactly on course, but it's always sort of analyzing where it is and where it wants to be and making a series of, you know, small course corrections along the way. So the jet ends up at the destination that it intended. And I think, you know, it's very much similar to the process we're following here. And, you know, I view us all as being partners in that process. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's a good analogy.
Christine?
I'm fine, thank you.
And I do just have one question. Are there any parents on the science adoption committee
We didn't talk about
or community members?
We'll be talking about that today.
Okay, thank you. Desi knows how to read my mind. Okay, so nothing else. We'll move on to district enrollment report.
Try this again.
All right, Linda always gets to do the honors of paying really close attention, yeah, to our enrollment. And it's near and dear to all of us, absolutely, for many, many, many reasons. And I'm gonna go ahead and let Linda share a little bit about how this report was created and what implications it had for it.
Well, as you can see, this report goes back years and years and years, but it's a good look for us. I have them color coded by grade so you can see the grades coming down at an angle. So you can see kindergarten in 1998 and how it flows down through the years and how many ended up as seniors. We usually have more seniors than we do kindergarten, but not always. Our concern is the concern we've had for years now. We have declining enrollment along with a lot of the districts in the state. This year, it looks like we're down about 44 students from last year at this time. This is our October 1 official numbers. So all of our 10-day drops have happened. So these are just the students we expect to be here, hopefully through the year. These numbers are enrollment. This is not how we get paid. We get paid on those that are enrolled for the entire school year. We would get the whole amount, which is a little over $10,000. If they come and go and are gone for more than a 10-day period, then there would be a piece of time where we don't get money for them. We'll see how this plays out in our estimates that we put out. Again, this year we will be being paid off of last year's enrollment because our probably ADM from what it's looking like now because we're lower again. And the state gives us our state school fund based on the higher of prior year or the current. I would note that we have a very low kindergarten class this year, the lowest we've had in all of the time that we've kept track of this. Sorry, that was my earring.
So we'll quickly go around and see if you have any questions, Mara,
No, we don't.
Kelsey? Richard,
No, thank you.
Christine?
Sorry, my mute's sticky. I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to Division 22 assurances, and thank you, Linda, for keeping such good track of that.
Of
Very
course.
easy to read.
Right. Well, we are here to talk about the annual Division 22 assurances. So go on to the next slide, Linda. There we go. So our Division 22, just for you new folks on the board, is the set of laws that we are governed by. Division 22, the 22 stands for laws that fall under ODE. And so when we go through these laws, we do it on a yearly basis. We check to see we're in compliance. And really, it's our way to signal to the community that we are meeting the high expectations for our students that the state has set. It's really the floor, it's the baseline of what we need to do. We can always go above and beyond. And it's our way to communicate those assurances with our community so that they know that we're in compliance. Next slide. We have a couple things that we need to do every year with Division 22. The first is that we need to present to you before November 1st. Then probably within this next week, we'll post all of this on the website so that community members can look through it. It will have this presentation along with some additional information on just the different pieces of Division 22. And then we submit to ODE our results of Division 22 and kind of report on how we're doing to them directly. And that's due by November 15th. So we like to always go back to last year because there were parts of Division 22 that we were out of compliance. We want to give you a quick update on that. Last year, we were out of compliance in just one area, which is around our PE minutes for elementary education. We were kind of falling short on that. And last year, we worked closely, you kind of heard about it in Jenna's report. We worked closely with elementary schools to kind of devise a plan on how we could make those minutes. And we are proud to say that we are now meeting them through some really creative efforts of the PE teachers and the teachers in general at the two elementary buildings. So we are now on track with that plan. So then we need to talk about this year. And again, well, I'll rephrase, it's not this year, it's technically last year, so 22-23. And there was only one that we were out of compliance for, and that was the same one, the elementary, because we were in the process of implementing that plan. And ODE does give us a little grace as we're trying to implement the different plans. And so this year we'll be able to say to them that we are putting that plan into action and we are in compliance. So that is it. We are right on track with all of the rest of the Division 22s for this year.
Okay, Meryl,
No questions.
Kelsey, Richard,
No questions, thanks.
Christine?
Yeah, no, I'm good, thanks.
You threw a thumbs up, I couldn't see it. If you see that, we're good. And I'm good, thanks.
Yes.
So you can, if you want to, we can go over to D where it's science curriculum.
Yeah, so this is just to let you know that we will be adopting science curriculum this year. So this is our public notice. And as Crystal had mentioned, it's our public way of saying to the community that we are going to go through this process and we would love the community to be involved. So we've had our initial kind of kickoff meeting with the staff members that are involved, but we are absolutely always looking for community members that might want to join us. And I know that last year after the math adoption, the board had talked about whether or not they were going to have representation on that committee as well. So that's something that you by all means can discuss and then get me names and I can make sure that information about meeting dates are pushed out to you. And then in terms of the large community, if you know community members who have an interest,
reach out through a couple different venues. We check with our site councils, we check with our principals in general if they have people within their key communicators that might be interested. And I'm gonna put out some things because conferences are this next week, so we'll have an easy way to advertise to families. And then through Parent Square. So if you have names that you'd like to forward on to me, we would love to have them so that we can include them in this process. And then in addition, when we get to the spring and we have materials under review, we post them out in a public way, usually during spring conferences so that families can look through them.
Excellent. Meryl?
No further question. Well, I will ask one question. Did I understand that a board member could be invited to sit in on the meetings?
Absolutely.
If the board would decide to do that.
Yep.
What
Thank
does,
you.
what does that process look like?
So the process starts in this kind of October, November. We look at creating a rubric that we're going to use to evaluate the materials. So we do things like look at the strategic plan. We look at our test scores to see if there are areas where we notice students are maybe struggling. We look at things like the Oregon Equity Lens, and we use that to kind of frame how are we going to evaluate the actual textbooks. Then we take the list of approved materials from ODE. We typically participate in a caravan where we go and meet with the publishers and learn about the different materials. And then the individual building teams narrow in on which materials they would like to pilot. From there, they pick usually 2 to 3 materials and they pilot a unit from each of those materials. That happens January, February, and March. At that time, we try to send home information to families so that they know, hey, my kid's doing pilot material, so they can look at it and give feedback. Students have an opportunity to give feedback, and then teachers have an opportunity to give feedback. From there, after they've completed those pilots, those teams come back together to talk about what they liked or didn't like about the materials. There's a rubric that they filled out that we created in this fall. And then from there, we narrow into the one that gets selected. We then bring that before the board and the board approves it. And then we start making purchases. So that's the typical process. It's about a year long.
So do you meet like once a month or a couple times?
Right now, we're meeting twice a month, and then once the pilots start in January, it's more like once a month, but they're doing ongoing work on a daily basis. And then I'm just kind of meeting with teams at the building level.
And how often do you get new material?
Every 7 years.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's been 7 years since we last adopted materials for science. Great questions.
That's all.
That's one further question. I forgot to.
Go ahead.
Forgot to look at my notes. Your comments reference, you will also collect stakeholder input. And my question is, who are the stakeholders and how is the input collected?
So we have obviously teacher stakeholders, their input's collected in a couple different ways. There is the rubric that they fill out, as well as surveys that we have them take. There's students who are stakeholders, and there's a survey that we have the students fill out. We have 2 different versions, one for little kids that is actually like smiley faces, a kind of like kid-friendly language. And then one, as they're older, where they give a pretty honest feedback about whether or not they like the materials, how it compares to their current materials. As part of it, there's usually materials that we can send home with families as well, where they can give feedback. Last year, we also pushed out a survey to parents that was like, what are you looking for in your students? It specifically was around math. So within your students' math education, we pushed that out several times, didn't get a lot of feedback on it, but it was something that we kept, trying to gather. And then there's feedback that we gather when we put out the materials for review during spring that parents can actually flip through the materials and then fill out comment sheets.
And they know ahead of time that that's going to be a.
Yeah, and then there's big displays right when they walk in the front door, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Richard, do you have anything?
Nothing here.
Great. I'm good.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Then we have sped restraint and seclusion report. Hi.
The staff is actually just 3 strict seclusion and for any student. in the district.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I must have missed.
No,
that.
yeah, no, it's fine. I just wanted to clarify that it's not just.
Not just for.
Not
staff.
just for students,
Okay.
yeah, with disabilities. So you guys saw the board report, every year we, report to ODE how many students, have, either had, needed to have a restraint or seclusion, and then we provide that to you guys and to the public, and so second year in a row that we have had 0 restraints or 0 seclusions. So, and you guys can see the trends over time. I think I provided the last 5 years of the data. Good stuff.
Excellent, Meryl?
I did review the report and it's a pretty boring report.
Kelsey? Richard?
Yes?
Yeah. You haven't solved your question.
No, and I'm happy to raise my hand if I have any questions, if that makes it easier on your end.
No, you're good. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Cheryl. All right. Okay, we're good. All right.
Yeah.
Do I need a motion for adjourning the business meeting? Or I can just say adjourn? All right, we'll adjourn the business portion of the meeting at 8:00. Wait, that was, I'm like looking at my phone number, I'm like, wait, 7:05. Also, we have some sandwiches there, so you guys want to take one for the road?
Thank you.
And then we'll open our work session.
You need another minute?
You guys want 5 minutes? Before we dive into work session, yeah, we'll take a 5-minute break.
Sunday.
Do we need to?